Reliable and factual news about Liberia and the words of our one word. Today is Thursday, October 2, 2025. Story top the headlines this evening. International Monetary Fund proposed US 26.5 million extended credit for Liberia. Monrovia City Magisterial Court George Ben Bako issues rate of arrest for former presidential candidate and chief executive officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, Reverend Allen Roosevelt Brown, and his associates in connection to property of the interstate estate of the late Hilary Tubman. Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia wants to entrust Point Logistics over alleged illegal disposal of waste materials without authorization. And away from home a day after the joyous celebration of a religious festival, mass funerals have been held in the small Ethiopian town of Ariti for the 36 people who were killed when starving inside an Orthodox Christian church collapsed. The news bulletin voices of the newsmakers are all packaged in this edition of the program. We take a very short break to be right back. National Monetary Fund has approved the disbursement of US 26 million as 26.5 million to Liberia following the completion of the second review of the country's extended credit facility arranged in its Article 5 consultation. The funding equivalent to approximately 19.3 million brings total disbursement under the 40-month ECF program to 79.4 million since its inception in September 2024. The approval, according to a release from the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, was announced Thursday, which reflects that the IMF officials described as notable progress by Liberian authorities in implementing sound macroeconomic policies and initial structural reforms. The release added that the country's economic recovery remains fragile, particularly balanced on reforms that must outpace mounting fiscal pressures, donor fatigue, and the widening infrastructure deficit. The release noted that the IMF Deputy Managing Director and acting chair of the BOLI praised Liberia's efforts to rein in the fiscal deficit, bolster foreign exchange reserves, and preserve macro stability in the wake of declining donor assistance, particularly the sudden withdrawal of large scale of USAID funding. Tenants of the interstate estate of the late Hilary Tubman have accused the chief executive officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, Reverend Roosevelt Allen Browns, of ongoing harassment, despite a Supreme Court ruling that stripped him of any legal rights to the property. Speaking separately with reporters Thursday following an arrest warrant issued by the Monrovia City Court for the CEO, the tenants identified as Madam Marion Durbard and Kelvin described Reverend Brown's continued attempts to evict them as criminal trespass. According to the tenants, Browns has consistently harassed legal occupants of the property located on Cinco 6th Street, even after the Supreme Court on February 18, 2024 upheld a lower court ruling against him. The tenants added that the court ruling takes away his legal rights to the estate. As such, he should stop harassing them. Fake eviction order from his legal team, the tenants called on authorities to fully enforce the court ruling and protect their legal rights as occupants of the property. The Expeditionary Magistrate of the Monrovia City Magisterial Court, George Ben Bako, has issued a writ of arrest for Reverend Allen Roosevelt Brown, Chief Executive Officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, and several associates in connection to property of the interstate estate of the late Hilary Tubman. The arrest was issued Thursday, commands Captain Charles Bolivar, sheriff, to apprehend Brown and his associates to bring them before the court at the Temple of Justice in Monrovia for allegedly trespassing into property of the interstate estate of the late Hilary Tubman on 6th Street, Sincor. The court rate of arrest leveled several criminal charges against Reverend Brown and his associates include criminal trespass, criminal mischief, felonious restraint, criminal conspiracy, and criminal facilitation. According to the former complaint, the prosecution is brought by the Republic of Liberia through the representatives of the Tubman Estate, Abraham Barry, Mohammed Morgan, and Rebecca Tubman, who alleged that Brown and others forcibly entered the disputed premises located on located on 6th Street on September 24 and October 1 to claim property belonging to the interstate estate of the late Hilary Tubman. The executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia, Emmanuel Yakpawolo, has issued warning to Intrust Point Logistics following revelations that the company illegally disposed of waste materials without authorization in direct violation of national environmental laws and international protocols. The controversial centers on 17 containers imported by Interest Point Logistics, which arrived at the Freeport of Monrovia on September 18, 2025, and were upheld or held at the APM terminal over concerns about their contents. Speaking with team of reporters in Monrovia, EPA Executive Director Yuri Yapawolo said, in keeping with its statutory mandate, the EPA launched a full environmental assessment and laboratory analysis to determine whether the materials were safe for disposal within Liberia. He added that after weeks of scientific evaluation, the EPA determined that while the contents were heavily decomposed and infested with worms, they did not contain hazardous substances and posed no significant risk to public health or the environment. UAE Paulo noted that the company were explicitly informed that it could not carry out any disposal on its own and must contract an EPA certified waste management provider. The EPA executive director emphasized that waste handlers must undergo extensive training and adhere to rigorous disposal protocols before being permitted to manage environmentally sensitive materials. Deputy Information Minister Daniel Sano has responded to public criticism over suspended Deputy Minister Brian McGill, who has not been arrested, while Ministry of Agriculture contractor Sando Kuman is early in jail on statutory rape charges. Speaking at the Ministry of Information's regular press briefing Tuesday, Sando said police explained that the two cases are different, adding that there is no special treatment given to anyone. Sando stated in one of the cases, evidence was immediately available. The suspect was caught in the room with the victim, and in the other case involving the suspended deputy minister, investigators need to gather enough evidence to establish probable cause. According to him, the police have no interest in who the accused is. Their only concern is to investigate properly, noting that the government acted by suspending McGill to ensure there was no interference with the ongoing investigation. Deputy Minister Sanders said when he follows the news, people say the police arrested one person and left the other, emphasizing it is the reason President Joseph Boakas suspended the official because people thought the individual in question was untouchable and the facts and circumstances in the two cases are not the same. Roman, aged 34, was arrested September 24 after police said he assaulted a 14-year-old girl at his Vitan appointment or apartment. A medical report confirms signs of abuse, and he is currently at the Monrovia Central Prison awaiting trial. Police have not yet provided details on the progress of their investigation into the deputy minister case. The Indian Embassy near Monrovia, in partnership with Bounty Pharmaceutical, a subsidiary of the group of companies, Thursday donated 500 nose masks and 500 pairs of hand gloves to the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency. The donation comes in direct response to an appeal recently made by the officer in charge of the LDA aimed at bolstering the agency's operational capacity in its ongoing fight against illicit drug proliferation in Liberia, presenting the items on behalf of the Indian government. Ambassador Sherry Varman stated that the Indian embassy is proud to stand with the DEA in its efforts to rid the country of dangerous drugs. Ambassador Varman emphasized that the support symbolizes India's broader commitment to strengthening Liberia's security and health sector and pledged continued collaboration in areas critical to the welfare of the Liberian people. Receiving a donation on behalf of the agency Deputy Commissioner of Police as Gerald Yako, officer in charge of the LDA, lauded both the Indian Embassy and Bounty Pharmaceutical. It described the donation as timely and impactful, particularly as the LDA ramps up nationwide operations targeting drug abuse and trafficking. Women's NGO Secretariat of Liberia has distributed life skills empowerment materials to women of District Number 17 to muster Radio County ending violence against women and girls. Speaking at a one-day forum Thursday, the executive director of the Women's NGO Secretariat of Liberia said the group was established to support women in Liberia to contribute to peace by ending gender-based violence, promote women's rights, and advance gender equality in conflict setting. According to Hall, they are supporting local actors working to protect the safety, security, and fundamental rights of Liberian women and girls by strengthening the capacity of women rights groups and social movements, including those representing youth and groups facing intersection forms of discrimination to advance progress on women's empowerment, gender equality, and women's contribution to peace across the country. Aggrieved students of the now-closed PYJ Polytechnic University in Ganta are demanding transfer documents from their administration to enable them continue their education at other institutions. According to the students, the university has reportedly been sold to a private individual who intends to use the property for purposes unrelated to education. The students say the university has remained closed for 3 academic semesters following the death of its founder, Senator Prince Y. Johnson, in 2024. With no clear communication from their administration and no plans to reopen, students feel abandoned and are calling for immediate action. Critics argue that the reported sale of the university and its prolonged closure reflect the fast declining legacy of the Nimba County political strongman, widely known as the godfather of Nimba. Criminal could be presiding George Wisse has sentenced Sam Wallaby to life imprisonment for the murder of Samia Colley following a damning verdict by a jury trial that found him guilty of carrying out an unauthorized surgical procedure that led to the death of a patient. In a ruling delivered October 1, 2025, Joe Wisse described Wallaby's actions as not only illegal but premeditated and deliberate, accusing him of establishing a killing chamber under the pretense of medical facility. According to the court's findings, Wallaby, who admitted he was neither a certified medical doctor nor a surgeon, performed a Bosch epidemiology on the deceased. He described himself as merely an apprentice medical doctor, having learned surgical rituals from trained doctors on whom he once worked. However, prosecutors established that Wallaby was not licensed, registered, or certified by the Liberia Medical and Dental Council to perform any medical procedure. Wallaby pleaded not guilty during his arraignment on August 18, 2025, but a 15-man jury was impaneled and later convicted him following testimonies from key 5 witnesses, including family members and medical authorities. The Liberian National Police has charged and sent to court 32-year-old Francis Nana with murder for allegedly killing patrolman Mark Briswell of the Liberian National Police. The fighter incident occurred early Sunday morning near the Gabriel Tucker Bridge in Monrovia. The LMP in a statement says the action by the alleged perpetrator violates Section 14, subchapter of A and Section 14.1 of the Penal Law of Liberia. It has been reported that during the incident, Nana refused to stop at a checkpoint and struck Patrolman Bracewell while speeding through a yellow Nissan sedan. The reported the report noted that in an attempt to avoid being hit, Bracewell jumped onto the hood of the car, but Nana allegedly kept driving at high speed, ignoring the officer's cries for help before his death. A police investigation found no mechanical issues with the car and ruled out brake failure, thus dismissing Nana's claims of confusion. Patrolman Briswell was described as a committed and professional officer who had been on duty for over 24 hours. Following mounting public pressure and concerns raised by members of the Judiciary Associate Magistrate Designate William Wese has resigned from his appointment to the Pittsburgh Magisterial Court. Wese was appointed or nominated by President Joseph Waka upon his recommendation of his father, Chief Justice Nyami Wese, a move that quickly drew critics by the president of the National Trial Judges Association of Liberia. The president of the National Trial Judges Association of Liberia described Chief Justice Wesley's recommendation of his son, who is not yet a licensed lawyer, as a clear breach of the Constitution and an act that undermines the integrity of the judiciary. The news bulletin, we take a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the voices of the newsmakers. Indeed, if you just join us, a reminder you are in the King's Newsroom, 45 minutes of news from Liberia and the rest of our one world. Today is Thursday, October 2, 2025. My name is Camillus Johnson Angering. One of our top stories this evening, Monrovia City Magistrate Court George Ben Bako issues writ of arrest for former presidential candidate and chief executive officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, Reverend Alan Roosevelt Brown, and his associates in connection to the property of the interstate estate of the late Hilary Tubman. Let's now bring you voices of the newsmakers.
That morning, asking the chairman to save me capital the say I should go to my lawyer.
Tenants of the estate of the late Hillary Tubman have accused the chief executive officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, Reverend Roosevelt Allen Browns, of ongoing harassment despite a Supreme Court ruling that stripped him of any legal rights to the property. Speaking separately with reporters on Thursday following an arrest warrant issued by the Monrovia State Court, the tenants identified as Madam Marian Dobard and Kelvin described Reverend Brown's continuing attempts to evict them as criminal trespass, according to the tenants. Brown has consistently harassed legal occupants of the property located in Cinco 6th Street, even after the Supreme Court on February 18, 2024 upheld the lower court ruling against him.
Morning, asking the chairman to save me capital the say I should go to my lawyer. I said, no, you save me, I own the property. Before you do any investigation, you save me capital. The sheriff and the police, they said, no way, they talk to me, what kind of thing. All of a sudden, to get me all of the property, they went to the police and put forgery case on me on the same property. They took me and carried me to the police station for me to come back on the justice and the police station. I finished bossing my car, my own person, we got the one on the company and my one, I finished bossing at home, bossing the window, all the things and put it in a wheel. Now, in my Loma, Lucifer, one rather to be identified, one camera, and so they were live. So I asked the officer, I said, but what you do? How you people doing that? I know that I can do. And so, one thing I can say, sister, you should see this man with a tough one. All right. I represent. Yeah, rid of arrest. This is because he illegally trespassed and causing serious chaos and damage on the property there. So at the point, man, getting me off, it means that they will get access towards the property. So the first thing they normally do to get me out of the property first, they will get me out of the property first before they can go on with the illegal thing.
So yesterday I was at work, but then we've been on the case for some
The
time
Supreme
now.
Court,
And then on February 18th,
the
Supreme Court ruled
none of the final
and gave us
judgment.
possessory right.
No other court can change that.
After February 18th, this name is Alan Brown filing for reactivation.
We never told other
And
people
went
we
for the
never
reactivation, he couldn't defend the reactivation. So the judge again ruled on May 28th and put in possession of the property. On August 19th, we received our possessory right from the civil law court of John Smith. And then on August 27th, Mr. Allen Brown was evicted from all the property. We evicted him. So on last week, we huge number of sheriff and police officers said that the injunction we filed for, they gave him possession of the sovereign against with the same injunction paper that he claimed he had possession of. With over 30 sheriff, police paper, PSU, too, filled out the paper.
Tenants of the Interstate Estate of the late Hillary Tubman, they had accused the Chief Executive Officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, Reverend Roosevelt Allen Brown, of ongoing harassment despite a Supreme Court ruling that stripped him of any legal rights to the property. The Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia, Emmanuel Yue Yakpawulu, has issued a warning to Introx Point Logistics following revelations that the company illegally disposed of waste materials without authorization in direct violation of national environmental laws and international protocols. Speaking with team of reporters in Monrovia, EPA Executive Director Emmanuel Yue Yakpawulu said in keeping with its statutory mandate, the EPA launched a full environmental assessment and laboratory analysis to determine whether the materials were safe for disposal within Liberia. He added that after weeks of scientific evaluation, the EPA determined that while the contents were heavily decomposed and infected with worms, they did not contain hazardous substances and posed no significant risk to public health or the environment.
The Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia present its compliment and refer to an earlier communication regarding the consignment of 17 44 containers of tank waste consigned to Western Transport and Logistics, which arrived at the Freeport of Monrovia on September 18, 2025. Pursuant to the Environmental Protection and Management Law of Liberia, in fulfillment of Liberia obligation under the Basel Convention, the EPA conducted a comprehensive environmental assessment and laboratory analysis of the tank waste. We are pleased to inform you that the results of the testing have confirmed that the material poses no environmental or public health risks and is therefore considered safe for disposal within Liberia. Accordingly, the EPA hereby authorizes and requests the release of the container currently held within the facility of ATM terminals to allow the consignment to be removed and disposed of in line with approved waste management procedure. Remember, we have already communicated with the company. They say you're not allowed to do this. For you to do this, you need to choose and satisfy this procedure. That decision is in the port. They can store it somewhere now until this procedure is followed. Okay, we highly appreciate your continued collaboration. As of yesterday, a number of the containers escorted by EPA inspectors, as well as our colleagues from the custom enforcement aspect of it, and other relevant authorities, as would normally be done. They escorted the truck on the port of Monrovia to this place where we are. This logistic company, they have already disposed some of them from here. They already disposed some from the port directly without the EPA involved. And so that is subject to investigation and administrative action. Because as we read in the letter, it's very clear to them the procedure. You are not satisfied to do this. These are the lists. Choose from. The reason why it's important, when the EPA satisfy a company to do this work, they go through tremendous training. They know exactly what to do. They are formed, they have to fill, they are protocol, they have to follow. everything. So we can't say anybody should do it. So that's why we say go and choose one. So then they will come up with a guideline, it will be approved. But as we got here now, fresh information is that they already have disposed of some, which is totally against the procedure we told them. But we're going to suggest that to further investigation and we'll come up with finding and action to be taken as to what constitutes the punishment here of in terms of it.
He's the executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia, Emmanuel Yue Yakpawolo. They're speaking today. Deputy Information Minister Daniel Sano has responded to public criticism over suspended Deputy Minister Brian McGill, who has not been arrested, while Ministry of Agriculture contractor Sano Kuman is already in jail on statutory rape charges. Speaking at the Ministry of Information regular press briefing on Thursday, Sano said police explained that the two cases are different, adding there is no special treatment given to anyone. Sano stated in one of the cases, evidence was immediately available and the suspect was caught in the room with the victim. While in the other case involving the suspended deputy minister, investigators need to gather enough evidence to establish probable cause. Here now is Deputy Information Minister Daniel Sano.
We have to clarify before we move forward that the Liberia National Police has started an individual who is accused of committing a crime of rape. As usual, we see people jumping to conclusion. How become a wrong man who was accused of rape? We haven't arrested him yet. Is it because he was carrying this or he committed a crime? And everything. So we have reached out to the LP. We have to say this thing before people try to misinterpret the position and action of the government. We go vying the public sentiment. So it says to us that the public to understand that the facts and circumstances in all the cases cannot be seen. In some cases, the suspect is immediately placed at the scene of the crime, meaning the evidence is available right away. In other cases, the suspect cannot be immediately linked to the crime scene, and therefore will require further investigation, especially when the suspect raises the defense or alibi as the defense. In the two cases that we're currently witnessing, one suspect was arrested in a room with the victim, while in the other case, it is based solely on an allegation made after the commission of the alleged act. In our case, the suspect is claiming that he was not present on the date as stated by the victim. The key point we want to make is that in the two cases here, the facts and circumstances are not the same. Please reiterate that there is no special treatment given to anyone. I mean, they treat everybody equally. In one case, the evidence was immediately available because the suspect was caught in a room with the victim. So no question about that. In the other case, it's necessary to conduct all investigation to establish what is lawful protocol. So there's no preferential treatment. People have no interest in who the accused in the two cases have. The only interest is to investigate and will probably cause the establish the court.
Is Deputy Information Minister for Public Affairs Daniel Sano there speaking. In the individual journals, a reminder you are in tune to King's Newsroom for the 5 minutes of news from Liberia and the rest of our one word. Today is Thursday, October 2, 2025. Story up in the headlines this evening. International Monetary Fund approves US 26.5 million extended credit for Liberia. Monrovia City Magistrate Court George Ben Bako issues rate of arrest for former presidential candidate and chief executive officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, Reverend Allen Roosevelt Brown, and the associates in connection to property of the interstate estate of the late Hilary Tubman. Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia warns in Trust Point Logistics over alleged illegal dispose of waste materials without authorization. Away from home, a day after the joyous celebration of a religious festival, mass funerals have been held in a small Ethiopian town of Ariti for 36 people who were killed when scuffling inside an Orthodox Christian church collapsed. We take a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments on the program. Many thanks for being there and welcome back. Today's development now, Women's NGO Secretary of Liberia distributes life skills empowerment materials to women of District number 17 to muster radio council and violence against women and girls. Speaking at a one-day forum Thursday, the executive director of the Women's NGO Secretary of Liberia said the group was established to support women in Liberia to contribute to peace by ending gender-based violence, promote women's rights, and advance gender equality in conflict settings.
Women in Liberia, quite FGM project with support from the UN Trust Fund. So UN Trust Fund is their local with this indicator, and this is Wongoso. And with Wongoso receiving the grant from UN Trust Fund, this is Wongoso with the umbrella, and I ensure that it's working with few people. So we are very glad today to come to you, to hear from you, to present this supportive material that will empower you for you to be able to do good things at your community as single mothers, as practitioners, as students of the school, and all our citizens. It is important because we talk about empowering women. When we empower women, women are able to be economically independent. And when you talk about independent, you're talking about financial power now, eh? And that knowledge make you to get small kappa. And I hear that, but Zangai, Kwazowo, Papa, what you call the market is. Kwa nonge deko kwa mu kapa pe kwa misanga ya grade nere. So today this program it is being here as the purpose to distribute items. That's the purpose we are here for, to distribute items in baking, items in soap production, and these are gears that we'll also be using, and to also produce chlorides, and these are chlorides material, and this is washing soap material, what we call gel. So you'll be learning about things here that you don't have to go in the supermarket again. For supermarket can bring it to you in the local community, because you are the one that will be able to bring supermarket and the skills you'll be using and helping your people, helping your children, then worrying them for all your husband.
Aggrieved students of the non-closed PYJ Polytechnic University in Ghana are demanding transfer documents from their administration to enable them continue their education at other institutions. According to the students, the university has reportedly been sold to a private individual who intends to use the property for purposes unrelated to education. The students say the university has remained closed for 3 academic semesters following the death of its founder, the late Senator Prince Y. Johnson, in 2024, with no clear communication from their administration and no plans to reopen. The students feel abandoned and are calling for immediate action.
The student center, the basketball court, the radio station is also part of the $8 million due. So you set it this place, and then you're not taking into consideration our feeding as a students. And we have been calling on the madam to meet us as students to discuss on roundtable. She has refused to enter into Nimakande, but to just tell us that, oh yes, I want to come on the campus. You have visa that live on the sun. So to tell us that, I want to come on the campus with people, with the buyers, just because she wanted to sell the property. Right? This one time we had the project, the place was very, very dirty off. But now because she have found a buyer to buy the property, now she bringing people. So we the students, we're not discussing concerning her property being sold to different people. That's all right. That's our inheritance from her husband. So she can sell it to different group of people. But our concern is our document. Our next concern is what becomes of the funds that have been invested here, that we are not getting anything from them. And the school still owing some of our police. Even me, the school still owing me because I'm not yet getting my bracelet. Since I did my test in December. Last year, 2024 December, I'm not yet getting my bracelet. So it means that institution still owing some of our police. So how will you sell us like a picking bear to people? And we not own the institution. We're doing tests, they always put us outside. So this is a frustrating issue. So this is a caveat to the Nima County Legislative Caucus, the two senators, the VP, and every well-meaning citizen of Nima County that the institution have been alleged so for $8 million to Mr. Johnson. It's frustrating to know that the government subsidy that was sent to the school, the Mr. Johnson cannot give account of it because she's signatory to the account of the institution. The government invested the first payment I was done was $50,000 as a subsidy to the school. And up to now, the school is not running. She has not yet given account of how the money was being used. The government said going to give $30,000 to the school. And she still not getting account of that $30,000. The government went about sending $6,721,900 LD to the institution as a subsidy. Now, and then she's still under the shadow telling us that there is no fund to run the institution. Now we can publicly and tell the public that there is no fund to run the institution. Then we'll question her. And the government should also question Mr. John.
Aggrieved students of the now closed BYJ Polytechnic University in Ghana demanding transfer documents from their administration to enable them continue their education at other institutions. Street vendors in Central Monrovia staged a protest accusing Finance Minister Augustine Gaffwan of being the architect behind recent restrictions barring them from selling in the city centers. The government of Liberia, through the Monrovia City Corporation, recently began enforcing regulations to remove street vendors from central parts of the capital. Petitioning President Joseph Boakai following his return from the United Nations General Assembly, the group, through its chairman, Abraham Connick, claims sources at the Monrovia City Corporation have hinted him that the finance minister is the mastermind behind the restriction.
Certain information circulating around the corridor. We have certain information circulating around the federal community about the finance minister.
What is the information?
The information that we have circulating around the corridor, perhaps our information, our intelligence, the finance minister, Mr. Gaffwan, is the one. Mr. Gaffwan is the one who behind the removal of the street vendor. And we did our assessment. We know that before Mr. Gaffwan achieved education, his mother saw it to allow money so rural and supporting. So when you come as the finance minister, you try to marginalize a petty trader, a barrier of the economy. So we are calling on President Boakai to intervene in this matter. We are calling on Jeremiah Poole, the speaker, whosoever to intervene in this matter. We need to do business. We need to resume selling. For us, we are non-violent people. We don't believe in violence. We believe in constructive engagement. So I want to say thank you to the press. We want to show you the true building. So yeah, we want to speak.
Street vendors there in Monrovia protesting. Of the home front, a day after joyous celebration of a religious festival, Mai's funeral have been held in a small Ethiopian town of Eritrea for 36 people who were killed when scoffing inside an Orthodox Christian church collapsed. Hundreds of mourners walked with coffins wrapped in colorful cloth into the compound of the nearby church, while clerics conducted burial rituals following the disaster at a St. Marian Church. Among them was a 22-year-old who told the BBC that he has lost his mother in the tragedy. Although the Christian church is under construction, people had gathered in the building on Wednesday during an annual Orthodox Christian celebration at Cimmerian. Eyewitnesses told the BBC that a sizable number of the worshippers decided to climb onto the makeshift scaffolding to view a nearby painted mural on the church ceiling when disaster struck. Eyewitnesses said the chaos ensued as people scattered in panic or tried to save the lives of people trapped under the rubble. So in this news here, once again, our top stories. International Monetary Funds approve US 26.5 million extended credit for Liberia. Monrovia City Magisterial Court George Ben Bako issues writ of arrest for former presidential candidate and chief executive officer of Urban Marketing Group Incorporated, Reverend Allen Roosevelt, and his associates in connection to the property of the interstate estate of the late Hilary Tubman. Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia warns Intrust Points Logistics over alleged illegal disposal of waste materials without authorization. And away from home, a day after a joyous celebration of a religious festival, mass funerals have been held in the small Ethiopian town of Ariti for about 36 people who were killed when scoffing inside an Orthodox Christian church collapsed. Many thanks to all of our contributors, editors, and reporters who help in making this edition of King's Newsroom a success. For more news and information on this station, do join us at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning and also at 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon for another edition of this program. Many thanks to Frank Swain, who sat at control and produced the sound. On behalf of the entire team, my name is Cornelius Johnson. I angered. Many thanks to all of you for listening and watching. Good evening.